going on? I appreciate you for being here. I am making dinner for Sunday, similar meal to that of last week. So I have 2 salmon right there, mixed vegetables here, and I have 2 sweet potatoes in the oven as we speak. I'd like to give a shout out to my subscribers. If it was not for you, then I would not be able to share this live. And what a surprise it is to both of us how much good we can make use of this thing called life. An example of that is the food that we put in our body. Why is that important? Well, we are all a vessel. Within that vessel is a temple. What resides within that temple are our higher and lower faculties. This is an example of why patience is a virtue. To allow the food to cook as such is part of the preparation to what I put on this plate. So for the good in which we can additionally create this Sunday onwards to the next week, it's only fair for us to go into next week with a positive mind along with what we put in our bodies. If you're wondering what these are, this is salmon with butter, unsalted, and crushed pepper on unbleached parchment paper, which I recommend 100%. But the thing to keep in mind is with parchment paper, especially unbleached, is you can't go too high with the temperature because then it can burn and you don't want to take a chance of any fires. Safety always comes first. Just for the sake of space, I'm going to put this back into the oven, even though the sweet potatoes are on the plate. Before I do that, I will get rid of this parchment paper. In a way, this is a bittersweet meal, not only because I had it last week and how wonderful it was then, but it's a reminder of the person that I am going into the following week. Why is that important? Well, it just so happens to be the last week before school is out, and then onwards to the summer break. Last week, I started using unbleached parchment paper for the salmon when I was previously using aluminum foil, which isn't always the best option. That's just what I was accustomed to doing prior. However, experimenting here, what I discovered was that unbleached parchment paper still works just as well for the salmon. And how it's a reminder why sometimes we have to review what an alternative may be necessary, so then we don't cause as much harm to our bodies through the toxic chemicals on behalf of whatever the surface is around it. And what I always do is after all of this and I throw out the trash and I finish dinner, I throw out the trash just for the fact that the packages in which the wild salmon comes in, there's juices in there, and I don't want that stinking up the place. So I get rid of that before going to bed. What are you having today for dinner? How do you make use of the food in which you put into your system? Believe it or not, you are part of this journey. And me eating healthy is an example of that. Just like the lifestyle in which I have additionally lived on behalf of influence on my students, or the students that I encounter along the way throughout substituting for middle school and high school. Although I may not have mentioned it in previous videos, there's much reconciliation that I have received through substitute teaching. Ways that I did not know would be as essential to my perspective now. So while this may seem bittersweet for those either graduating or going to the next grade, it's a reminder of why life is worth living. And there was a lot of healing in my past that I didn't know I would receive on behalf of substitute teaching until actually being in the classroom and having the interactions that I'm fortunate to have with the students. All the while as they're focusing on the initial lesson plan that was left by the teacher. With that being said, it's only fair, like I said prior, to acknowledge some progress made in my life in areas, the reconciliation, that I didn't entirely consider until being in the position I am now with the education I am fortunate to gain, not only throughout 9 years of college, but also throughout grade school, 4 years of summer school, 3 years of Saturday Academy, and 2 years of after-school programs. And how somehow, some way, it all contributed to having not only a further understanding of where students are coming from through various experiences in school, but just the fact of how I was able to address parts of my past on behalf of their existence. As mentioned, it's a reminder of how there's parts of our lives we may not have known we needed to attend to until being around others who are younger than us, yet it's so easy to dismiss parts of the past that influence the present. And if we don't acknowledge that, it's very easy to carry that forward into the future. So I appreciate you for being here. And just know there's more videos on the way. But I thank my subscribers for being here and all the good that we have to look forward to this summer.